Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, I'm Shelby Jo Long here to explore stories to inspire you to think differently about your job, your life, your genius, and how you can live a life of your passion. I love talking to entrepreneurs that have created a business out of their genius because it is a pretty amazing lifestyle to live. Today, we have an opportunity to learn. This conversation is just going to make you want to get up and go and travel. And Mitch, I'm excited to hear more about your business and your inspiration and how you got into this business. So Mitch, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
I can, Shelby Joe. My name is Mitch Krayton. I am the founder and professional travel advisor with Krayton Travel. I'm in Aurora, Colorado, and I've been doing this now for 20 years. I want to help people get the vacation that they want and that they deserve because so many people will do for others before they do for themselves.
I think as entrepreneurs, many of our audience members can recognize that the tug of business, the tug of family obligations, all of those things that we don't often set the time aside for ourselves.
Well, I
So,
mean, vacation is one of those things people always say, I want. I want.
right.
However, other things get in the way. I've got a birthday, I've got an anniversary, I've got baseball, I've got my kids' thing, I've got that, my grandparents, my this. And so what happens is you wind up being a service to so many other things. And as you get older, you realize who's serving me? And part of serving you is to take time off, see the places that you've been dreaming of, learn new cultures, break from your daily routine, and come back energized. So this is what I
Yeah,
help people do. Yeah. Entrepreneurs are terrible at that. They
for sure.
they just don't want to give up the micromanagement of their business, and so they're afraid to leave. So I help work with them to say, if you don't do it, you're going to break, and if you're
Right.
broken, what happens to the business?
What happens to the business? That's exactly right. So you've been in the travel world for a while.
I
You
have.
enjoy traveling. You and I have had a conversation for the past half an hour. You love culture, you love the experience of it. We're very similar in that space. I love all of that. I love experiencing different things and eating different foods and being in a space where I'm learning. I love that. So we're very synergistic in that space. But I have two questions. The first one is when you decided to turn that into a profit generating machine, a business. So that I want to talk about that, but then I also want to talk about if that changed your love of travel, right? Because sometimes when we do what we love, we might not love it as much as we think we're going to. So I think that
Well,
happens to some people, but
yeah,
I
well,
want
it
to talk
does.
about both.
So let me give you the foundation story. So
Yes, please do.
this is my third entrepreneurial career. So you can call me a
Third.
serial entrepreneur. Yeah. My first, I was an executive recruiter and I stole people from public accounting firms and I gave them their first corporate jobs. And then I fell in love with this little thing called a Macintosh in 1984. And I'm a very visually oriented guy. And I said, oh my God, I don't have to do all the coding to draw a picture. I can just move a mouse. And so I became one of the first Apple resellers. Back when Apple was a laughable brand, it wasn't the largest company in the world, and
Kind of little
IBM
box.
and IBM and Microsoft, they were ruling the world. But I was persistent. I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I got to service a lot of the motion picture studios, graphic design firms, typography houses, which have disappeared, commercial printers, and a whole host of people that used the computer to design both still and motion graphics. And so I was doing that very successfully. And then Apple decided, oh, we're going to start opening these wonderful Apple stores. And wonderful they are. But when I had a major studio call me, Mitch, I need 25 of these brand new models. I could normally just call my distributor and I would have those 25 models and it'd be great. But I called and my distributor had none, didn't know when they were coming in. And the guy said, what are you talking about? I just was at the new Apple store. They've got all I could have. Ding. Apple was now not just my supplier, they were now my competitor. And
Yeah.
so I had to pivot. And my wife at the time was working at Princess Cruises, one of the largest cruise lines you're probably familiar with. And so I said, well, may I come into your space? We respected each other's space. I said, let me just do groups and let me do land tours. You're doing cruises. And so we did that. And then we'd sold our home and we were thinking, where were we going to relocate and do all these things? And we made a move to Denver, Colorado. And about 4 years in, we were about to celebrate our 45th wedding anniversary. We were putting a cruise together for our favorite clients and friends. And she yells out of the bedroom, I can't breathe. And she went into a coma, and I lost her 30 days to the day later. So I now was in a terrible strait because I'm suffering and grieving, but I also have to manage all of these other people. And travel has just been a wonderful part of my life. As a kid, I was always envious of all the people that would come back after summer and share their stories of where their families went. My family couldn't afford travel at the time. My mother was raising me with my grandmother. My father had died when I was just 4. So to me, it was, and I always loved histories and I loved culture and I loved music and food and just, it drew me into it. So when I was able to get involved with it and I started meeting the heads of some of these suppliers, I got to travel and do some things. And I think as an aside, I told you I have found another lovely, wonderful lady and been struck by lightning twice. She's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful.
I
But
love that.
but the passion that I have for travel comes from my continuing to travel.
Right.
And that passion to me makes me contagious to other people. They want to come along with me. And so this is we talked about, well, what are my plans going forward? So for 20 years, I started out helping people do vacations of every kind, book a resort, do a land tour, ride a bicycle, do this, do that, go on cruises. And so I focused on cruises, and then it got smaller ships, smaller ships, smaller ships. And now my focus is small ship cruising. So I'm an expert in all of the ships under 1,000 passengers. They're typically 600 or 700 for ocean bearing, 2 to 250 for adventure cruising, under 200 if you're going to do expedition. And there are even some smaller vessels that go into places like Alaska and the Galapagos and things like that. But what people don't understand is there all the big cruise lines are very wonderful, but there are smaller cruise lines in Australia. There are smaller cruise lines in the British Isles. There are smaller cruise lines in South America and Africa. And so you don't have to be in with 3, 4, 5,000 people. You can be with a group of people that went there for the adventure. And this is my specialty. I want people to come back, and you'll see over my shoulder, make memories, not regrets. I want you to come back telling stories of how you were moved, you were changed, you were invigorated. And that to me is a passion I want to pass on to everybody. So
Yeah.
I will never lose this passion. And I think I also shared, as my wife was in she was in long-term hospice, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I got the
So I
opportunity.
think this is such an important piece. I love this piece. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I got the opportunity while I was with my wife every day for 30 days. People come in and out of hospice because it's their end of life. And you come to observe a lot of different behaviors, but there's 2 things that I discovered. The people that came into the hospice were either angry, bitter, resentful, regretful. They were blaming their family. They were blaming life. Everything was horrible. And that's the way they exited. And then I also noticed there were a group of people that came in. Their family was with them. Their friends were with them. I had such a life. I have so many experiences. I could tell you stories. I remember this. I remember that. And they leave with a smile on their face relaxed. I said, well, which path would most people prefer? Obviously, You don't want to be the angry, regretful, bitter person. And so, to me, travel empowers you to have those stories, to have those experiences, to live a full life, to fill your heart. And anytime you think of something where you live and you're upset, it's usually small stuff. And then you go, well, wait, I was in Africa and people don't have anything on the floor, and their roof is aluminum. And
Right.
you, what? Here I am, a five-star hotel in Hanoi, Vietnam. Five-star hotel, right? Brass sign under the spigot in the bathroom. Do not drink this water. Really?
Gives you a little perspective for sure.
I mean, is there anywhere you go to somebody's home that you wouldn't just put a glass under the tap and drink it? It's like, okay. I mean, so you gain perspective whenever you think life is knocking you down. Just realize what we have here. Every time I come back from a foreign trip, I always say thank you. This was wonderful, and I'm so grateful to be here. So it keeps me energized, and it gives me perspective that I wouldn't already have. And I don't know people that are not moved when they actually meet with locals from another culture, eat their food, hear their music, listen to their history. All right. So, I was just recently, I came back from Chile, and you might have heard of Pinochet,
Hmm.
who came in. What you might not have heard is how he completely took people, buried them alive, or dropped them off in the ocean from a helicopter just to purge. And people lived through that, and now Chile is a democracy. They voted him out. You know, there's hope. And
Yes.
yet they have this museum of remembrance, and you go through there, and you're just your heart is bleeding. But the people there are so loving and kind. You just got to know. That's what travel will tell you. It doesn't matter how bad you think things are. Somebody else has lived through a whole lot worse, and life is going to continue with or without you. I'm in 110%. So I'm in the travel game, and I've gotten certified. I'm a certified travel consultant, a verified travel advisor. I am a master cruise consultant. I've taken every exam, all the experiences. I was just for the fifth year in a row. Condé Nast Traveler has named me as the top travel professional. It's in their current issue. And so, for those reasons, I'm honored, but I don't do it for the awards. I do it
Right.
because I want people to experience what I've experienced. I know it's made a big difference in my life. And if I can do it, I didn't come for money. If I can do it, everybody can do it. It's just an intention.
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, you're such a good storyteller for one, and talking about all the experiences and the ones that are vivid and they burn in your memory and you think of those things. I think that's something so important for entrepreneurs, but it's important for everybody because you have to give yourself time to be able to have those experiences. And
Well,
I
entrepreneurs, if
just
you,
love that you want to inspire other people to do that. And you just telling your story does inspire. I mean, like, I'm gonna check out your website. I think we're gonna have another conversation, So it's there's so many amazing things to discover, and I think that's
well,
inspiring
I'm
that.
going to Greece in October. I welcome people to come join me. It'll be a cruise on a Greek cruise line, so we will have Greek food, Greek dancing, Greek culture, everything. And we'll go to the popular places, but not when it's busy. And then we're going to go to some smaller islands where you'll learn about real Greek culture, Greek fishing, Greek eats. Mm,
I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm going. Need
good.
to send some information about that.
I love it. That's great.
So
Well,
I mean, your stories and you love to travel and you have that yearning desire to learn more and experience different cultures. And And so you're going to attract people that want that. That's such an important part of your brand and important part of how you show up and converse about your business. So when you did this full time or when you took over the business, and started to do the business and travel yourself. Tell me about how, if that changed any of your love for travel, if planning all the logistics did. And yeah, because I wonder when was that point, often with other conversations with entrepreneurs that have done this, transitioned from their love into what they're doing and making money with it, there's something that's lost there. Like, I interviewed a chef that made brownies, and that was that. Then they're making thousands and thousands of brownies and they kind of lose the love for it, you know? So it's, did that happen with you, or did you find that it was flourishing a little bit more?
So when I got started, I did not have a tremendous understanding of how the tourism operates, how different vendors of travel work with people in the travel agency world. We used to be called travel agents. The new naming is travel advisor. And so, how does that work? Well, the good news was they provided so many free online courses. And everywhere I went, if I went to a professional trade event, there would be more free training. So they taught me about the world and they taught me about booking process. They talked to me about how to qualify for different destinations. They talked to me about how to qualify for different types of travel. There are those that are very adventurous that couldn't sit in a 45 passenger bus, and there are those that, they would never take a cruise. They want to live in a, Airbnb. That's fine. So they show you every destination and every type of travel is not perfect for everybody, but there's something perfect for everybody. So your
Right.
job is to help them sift through the noise and curate all the madness so that what they come to grips with and what you help them develop is something that they do love. It fits their passion. And that's the puzzle solving was another part that always turned me on. I love solving puzzles. And everybody comes to me is like a puzzle with 1,000 pieces. How do I put this together so that the picture is beautiful and everybody agrees this is what we want? And so, yeah, it was tough learning all of the facts that over time, none of this has been in a uniform booking system. Every single place you go, if it's a travel company, a cruise line, a hotel system, they all have their own computer systems and they all
Mhm.
work differently and none of them talk to one another. None of them. So what's frustrating
I
is
love that.
it's the redundancy, okay?
Mhm.
And so you learn, you do. If you can, you hire somebody to do that stuff for you because that's more clerical work than it is brain work. Um, so that was a frustration for me, and it's something I deal with all the time because it's not about sharing my passion and telling my stories. It's clicking on the keyboard. So 80% of what every entrepreneur does, and maybe even 90%, is marketing. It's the 10% that brings in the money, right?
Yep.
And so that 80 to 90%, you've got to be in love with what you're doing. So out of that 80 or 90%, there's continuing learning, there's running the business, there's planning for the future of the business, there's staffing issues, there's all kinds of issues. Each one of those should be a project that you find fun in, the best that you can do. And some of it's going to be drudge. We know it. There's no fun in filling out your taxes, but you got to do it. Okay.
Yep.
But the thing is, you balance it out and you say, but I just sent this couple out for their 30th wedding anniversary, and they came back and said, amazing. Okay, all the drudge is worth it. And entrepreneurs, they kind of feel they have to wear 5,000 hats and can't delegate. There is that thing where, well, if I don't do it, I can't afford a full-time person. Well, so there's part-time people. There are bookkeepers that do things part-time. You can hire part-time people from high school and college that can do clerical things for you. You can have virtual assistants that are online that can, handle your database and things like that. They're not that expensive and there's no long-term commitment. There's ways of dealing with it so that you're freed up to do what you enjoy and what you do well, and generates the most money so that you can pay for all those things, right? And
Right.
so this is my experience for entrepreneurs is don't do anything for money. Do things because you have a passion. You want to share that passion. I don't care whether it's electronics, science, chemistry, pharma, it doesn't matter. But if you're passionate, you'll have people come to you and go, tell me more. I need to hire you. And that you can
Sounds like
tell.
you need a marketing company too. That's,
You do need a
that's
marketing company. And again, if you're spending time marketing, if that's not your passion or it's not where you
find
make
someone
your
else to do
money,
it.
delegate. Find somebody that can do it for you.
I call
You
that
don't.
staying in your genius zone, and that's
I love it.
to staying in your genius zone, doing the things that lights you up, that helps you feel more fulfilled, and then you can fill in all the rest around you. Because then when you're have that focus on on the things that most fulfill you, then all the other stuff can fall into place. But you got to put the right people there. So just got to think
Absolutely.
about that, because then
Absolutely.
that
And when
would
you're all said and done and you say, this is what I've accomplished, you'll be rattling off stories. Okay? So that's that smile at the end of your cycle. It's like,
yeah.
this is what I accomplished. Making money, being the wealthiest grave in the cemetery isn't doing much.
No.
But living a full life that fills your passion and inspires others to fill their passion, oh my God, how rewarding can that be? And that's the way I live every day. So that's what I do.
So Mitch, you're making a little pivot in your business now. Can you tell us about that?
So what I've decided, I'm about to celebrate my 75th birthday. Woo! Three quarters
Congratulations.
of a century. Who knew? Now, I've outlived my mother. I've outlived my brother. I've outlived my father. My grandmother was 93. I still have a goal.
That's a good goal.
It's a great goal. And I'm healthy and I'm vital. So I'm going to take advantage of this so long as the body is willing. Because at some point parts start to fail, this starts to fail. Okay. So what I've decided to do now, I have a series of bucket list itineraries that I want to visit. So I'm now putting two or three groups of people together that want to come with me to see these destinations where I will plan everything and you'll just come back full with stories and wonderful amazement, pictures you'll want to show off like crazy, as opposed to, well, it was nice with a whole lot of people and it was crowded and I was standing in line. Oh my God, it was hot and I didn't know. When I hear people tell me that after a vacation, I go, how did you plan such a bad deal? That's awful. So, like I said, in Greece in October, I've got a cruise. I'm setting aside a Greek cruise line, so we have Greek authenticity, and we're going to go to Greece. We'll also go to Turkey. We're going to Thessaloniki, so we're going to go there too. And before we get on the cruise, anybody wants to do that, we're targeting to fly into Istanbul and spend 3 days in Istanbul because you're going to be that close. You have to see that part of the world
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and flying from Istanbul to Athens is easy peasy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing for folks. My last continent is Australia, so that I'm planning for 2026. So haven't been to Australia, been to Antarctica. Most people always think it's Antarctica, but
Yeah.
no. My last continent is Australia, and it's the longest flight. So the flight is you got to spend the time in the air to get there. So when we get there, it will be all about Australia, and we're going to go to as much diversity as we can, wines district, music, um, the culture, you know, make sure that you come back feeling like an Aussie. And if
I'm
we have time,
interested in that one too. See, you just inspire me to want to travel and see all these things too, as you
well,
do.
why not? Why not? I
Well, why
mean,
not? Why not? Yeah.
because I'll tell you if you do what a lot of people do, Mitch, this is very interesting, but 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 and then you get to a point where you cannot travel and you go, I should have.
Yep.
I wanted to. I didn't. I had the money, I had the resources, I had the health, I had the time, but I didn't make it a priority of me. And so it's like, I don't care if you book with me, book with anybody. It doesn't matter. To me, get the experience, get outside of your bubble. Learn that there's more to the world than what you have your little blinders on here for. Going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. There's more to work, to life. And you come back realizing no matter how crummy you think your day was, there are people that are living in places with just dirt on the floor. There are people living in places where they can't drink the water out of the tap. They don't have flush toilets. Their food, you probably wouldn't want to eat it. So be grateful. I don't care where you are in this country, you can find water to drink, food to eat, and a roof over your head. But not everywhere on the planet is it that way. And so you have to experience it to really appreciate it. It's all I can say.
Make memories, not regrets.
Yes,
Mitch,
ma'am.
where can our audience find more information about you and your business?
Well, right there is Mitch at KraytonTravel.com. That's my email, or KraytonTravel.com is the website. I'm also on LinkedIn for Mitch Krayton, and I am also on Facebook. So those are my primary places, and I welcome the opportunity to learn who you are. Where is your bucket list, and where have you been just dreaming to go? If you want to join me on my cruise, love to have you. But you may have interest too, and I have other colleagues. If it's outside my scope, I have other colleagues I'd be happy to refer you to.
Well, Mitch, I am inspired, and we're going to be talking about my next vacation for sure.
Maybe we can do a Shelby B. Long mastermind on board a ship.
Oh, I
Ooh,
love that idea.
there we
Love
go.
it.
There you go.
We can get the
So it's
speakers
been my
involved too.
honor to be with you, Shelby, and I tell you, it's it's a pleasure talking about travel. It's a pleasure to help people make memories and come back with a smile on their face and think about life in a positive, happy way.
Let's put a speakers cruise together.
I'm loving it. We'll do it.
We're talking about that next time.
All
That's
right.
Mitch, thank you for coming on the podcast today and sharing your story. So inspiring. I hope you all you listeners out there are inspired to travel but also inspired to start a business out of your passion. You can do it. It is possible. And it's exciting to hear these stories so you can be inspired too. So I'll see you next time in the next Genius Entrepreneur podcast so we can inspire you to take the next step.